There are very few rules that govern the Marvel Universe, but there is one thing that has never not been true. Never ever mess with the Incredible Hulk. However, because they are clearly morons, a lot of people have tried taking out the Hulk for good. Some have even come damn close, but of course, none have succeeded, despite very creative ways of making an attempt to murder the Jade Giant. With that in mind, I'm Will for What Culture, and here are the 10 most ridiculous things the Hulk has survived. 10. Having his skin flayed off. Incredible Hulk 398. Vector is the leader of the UFOs, who wanted to be exposed to the same cosmic rays the Fantastic Four were exposed to in order to get superpowers. The UFOs succeeded, but they chose to become supervillains instead, turning into one of the Hulk's most formidable opponents. At one point, Vector and the Hulk face off at the behest of the leader. Wanting to get the fight over with and the Hulk out of the way as fast as humanly possible, Vector just started to telekinetically flay the Hulk's skin off. And yes, it is exactly as brutal as that description sounds, as the Hulk barely has any time to even think before his skin begins peeling off him like a great big green potato. But of course, if it were that easy to take out the Hulk, he'd have been put in the ground a while ago. Instead, his healing factor puts him right back on the warpath within a few pages. 9. Being poisoned. Incredible Hulk 364. Fighting the Hulk one-on-one is basically suicide. We know this, so a few villains have tried other methods to get around Bruce's little green friend. A villain named the Madman, knowing full well that if he and the Hulk were to come to blows, he would come up short, decides to poison the Hulk instead. It's not a bad idea, because the poison works by spreading faster the angrier he is. And Hulk gets angry pretty easily. However, instead of the poison triggering the transformation into classic Green Hulk, Bruce instead turns into the grey Mr. Fix-It. This helps Bruce survive long enough to find a cure, as Fix-It isn't nearly as powered by rage as his green brother is, on top of him being way smarter than the Green Hulk. Close, but no cigar, Mr. Madman. 8. Being eaten by cockroaches. Incredible Hulk, The End. Hulk, The End is a one-off story centering around the Hulk being the sole surviving human after a nuclear apocalypse. Naturally, the nuclear radiation increases his powers, making him basically immortal and able to come back from any injury, no matter how little of him is left good as new. A fate that becomes very unfortunate indeed when cockroaches catch up to him. Funny thing about roaches being the only thing that survives nuclear holocaust is that if they find anything else that's left out there, that thing is going to be food. And indeed, a regular thing the Hulk gets to look forward to in this world is being eaten alive over and over and over again by giant man-eating mutant cockroaches. And of course, we get to see it happen over and over and over, as the cockroaches, being one of the only things left out there, regularly hunt down the Hulk when they're sure they can get a whole meal out of him. Lovely. 7. Shot point blank by HAVOK. Incredible Hulk 391. Cyclops is one of the most powerful mutants in the Marvel Universe in terms of sheer force output, but some serious competition for that title is his own brother, Alex, better known as HAVOK. HAVOK's whole deal is absorbing cosmic energy and converting it into raw destructive force. He's got the might to just shred most people, but the Hulk is not most people. So when he and HAVOK came to blows, he decided to just tank a full power blast from HAVOK point blank. Naturally, things do not go well for anyone in that general area, but of course the Hulk survived. Sure, it took him a second to get back on his feet, but that's a lot of a better state than literally anyone else would be in were they in his place. 6. Shot point blank by Black Bolt. World War Hulk. World War Hulk was the big sequel to the divisive series Planet Hulk, where Hulk returns to Earth after being banished and seeing his new world and family blown up. In short, he's pissed. His first stop on the big grievance-airing tour is the Inhuman King Black Bolt. Black Bolt, for those not in the know, has a voice so powerful he can't even whisper without leveling a city block, which the Hulk learns very thoroughly when Black Bolt hits him point blank with the single whispered word enough, sending him flying. But of course, if that were the end of the story, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So the Hulk gets up without even really feeling it, and proceeds to bring the pain. After all, he didn't come to hear Black Bolt whisper, he came to make him scream. 5. Getting punched into space. Amazing Spider-Man 328. This moment comes during a story arc in which Spider-Man finds himself growing increasingly more powerful. He has no idea as to why yet, but it comes in handy when the Hulk comes calling for not very nice reasons. Ultimately, they fight, and he punches the Hulk so hard he sends him hurtling into orbit. Fortunately, he was actually in his Grey Hulk transformation at the time, so he manages to stay alive in space, but even that was temporary, as orbiting the Earth would bring him back around to the sun, which would turn him back into Bruce. This was one of the times the Hulk was Hulk by night and Bruce by day. Still, however screwed Bruce Banner would have been if it had been caught out in space when he transformed, the Hulk was just fine. 4. Getting shot in the head by Hawkeye, Civil War II. In the rather not very good Civil War II storyline, Hawkeye decides to eliminate an out-of-control Hulk by shooting him right between the eyes with an arrow, and he dies, straight up. However, along comes Immortal Hulk shortly thereafter to make something clear about Bruce Banner. Kill him, and the Hulk will just get up later. So it doesn't take long for the Hulk to be up and running again. Apparently Bruce set the whole thing up for the sole purpose of testing to see what it would actually take to put him down for good. Turns out it would take more than an arrow to the brain. 3. Gutted by Wolverine, Incredible Hulk 340. Wolverine was going to show up on this list eventually, seeing as he was literally introduced in a Hulk comic, and in Incredible Hulk 340, the two traded blows once again. Though this time, Wolverine found himself pitted against a much less friendly Grey Hulk. At the crescendo of the fight is when things really get juicy, as Wolverine decides screw it and uses his adamantium claws to just slice the Hulk's guts clean open. It's easily one of the most brutal moments of the series, and combined with the now legendary cover art, is one of the factors that makes this comic so beloved. But of course, the Hulk survives, and the two eventually settle their differences, which is kind of an impressive level of maturity between two people who have just torn each other's guts out. 2. Sliced into pieces and put into jars, Immortal Hulk 8. In Immortal Hulk 8, after an awesome fight with the Avengers, the Hulk is taken to a secret government facility called Shadow Base, and put at the mercy of one Dr. Clive, a poor man's Dr. Frankenstein. Clive does manage to give Hulk a truly gruesome fate though, by slicing him into a bunch of pieces and putting all those pieces into jars. However, even this was not enough to keep the Immortal Hulk down for long, and pretty soon all of the Hulk's body parts break out of their jars and reform their single host, with the good Dr. Clive being trapped in the mix. In probably the most horrifying way a comic villain has died in decades, Dr. Clive is absorbed into the Hulk's body via his body reforming and regenerating around him, with Clive only being able to beg and plead for mercy as he's overtaken by the monster. 1. Getting crushed by a mountain, Secret Wars. This is one of the Hulk's most iconic moments. Other moments may have been more brutal, but this is by far the most ridiculous thing that the Hulk has survived without question. You can't even get rid of this guy by dropping a freaking mountain on his head. That's exactly what one group of villains resorted to during the original Secret Wars event comic, deciding that if dropping a damn mountain on the Hulk and friends didn't take them out, then why even bother? And to the comic's credit, it really goes out of its way to portray the weight and mass of this mountain that the Hulk is holding up. This one clearly pushes him right to his limits at this time. But of course, with the help of Iron Man and the other heroes, the Hulk manages to escape no worse for wear. But the fact that he survived a several thousand-ton hunk of rock being dropped from the sky onto his head says a lot about just what it takes to kill the Hulk, which is to say, more than you've probably got. And there you have it, folks, the 10 most ridiculous things the Hulk has survived. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.